put a disclaimer first. Disclaimer: this content I'm about to shoot is not in any form a fancy or a sophisticated one, and this is to see and try my ability in comprehending something I have read. Yeah, I do that on a norm. I record myself speaking to see how well I was able to comprehend what I read a few hours ago, and I don't put it out here on social media. But it so happens that you know how our phone storage can be, and we want to, delete or remove some content, some videos that are not useful to us, and I happen to delete those ones I have made while speaking to see how well I can comprehend what I read. But today is going to be different because I would not just be making a video. Like I mentioned, it's not a fancy video. I will make some mistake and it's going to be cringe. You might not find it nice, but it's okay. And I would also upload it on this platform, so let's have it. So I will be talking about discharge of a contract, right? So writing 100 level while offering love contract, we did definition of contract, types of contract, and all of those things, right? So now I will be talking on discharge of contract. Was that intro necessary? Maybe it wasn't, but anyway, so you get what I'm trying to say. So a discharge, or for a person to discharge a contract, means the contract has come to an end, and for the contract to come to an end, it simply means both parties have fulfilled their obligations as stipulated in the contract in the term of agreement, right? So there are 4 ways in which you can discharge a contract. You can bring a contract to an end. Remember I said both parties have performed their duty, so it can either be a fully performed duty, a partially performed duty, or they have just finally performed their duty. But performance of duty happened, and that is bringing the contract to an end. So elements that discharge that is capable of discharging a contract. Number 1 is performance, yes. Number 2 is agreement. Number 3 is breach of contract, and number 4 is frustration. So first, performance. A party can decide to perform their obligation or their duties in accordance with the term of agreement. After performing it, the contract will come to an end, right? And then when it comes to an end, the contract has been discharged. That's what performance means. Then for agreement, parties can come together to agree to also perform the contract, or agree to set the contract aside to rescind the contract. Rescind means set aside, also return back to the original state. I am referring to the rescission that has to do with setting aside. They can agree to ditch the contract and not perform their duty again. So agreement is another way in which parties can discharge their contract. Then third way is breach of contract, where a party intentionally, either through express or implied terms, choose not to perform his duty in accordance with the term of agreement. That would institute or constitute a breach of contract. And when there is a breach of contract, what happens next? The other party institutes an action before the court, asking the court to repudiate, to totally nullify, cancel that contract. Is that what repudiation means? Oh, Jesus Christ. My brain is banging. Yeah, I'll go back and check the definition of repudiation, but I know I used it in the right context, right? And the last one is frustration. This is more like a summary. I'm not giving you nitty-gritty details and cases and statutory authorities to back my definition or what I'm saying. These are just like summaries of what I'm saying. So the last is frustration. And frustration is an unenforceable event or occurrence that happens without the interference of the party, that makes the contracts or the parties incapable of performing their obligation. So, what can cause frustration? So, like I said, it is an unexpected or unforeseeable occurrence that makes parties incapable of performing their contract. Number one is sudden change of sudden change of law. What was legal doing there? Sudden change of law is one event that can make a contract discharged by frustration. Sudden change of law. Number two is outbreak of war. So I can remember in 1967 to 1970 in Nigeria there was Biafra war, right? And during that war, whatever transaction or contract entered into by parties during that period would not be able to scale through. That parties would not be able to perform their duties, right? Their obligation under that agreement, because the outbreak of war occurs, and when it occurs, guess what? It leads to frustration. Then I mentioned two already: sudden change of law, then outbreak of war, then three, destruction of the subject matter. Yeah. In common mistake, we saw the categories or classification of mistake in law, and the first one was res extincta. That means the subject matter is absence of the subject matter in the case or in the contract. So I can liken it to this part of frustration where the subject matter is destroyed. So now imagine A contracting with B for a car. A intends to sell his car to B at a given price. B agrees to buy, so they've done offer and acceptance. Now B has given consideration. At the point of entry into the contract, the subject matter was still in existence, right? Only for them to finalize their transaction where B gives consideration and is waiting for A to give him his car that he paid for. And now A checked his garage and found out that the car caught fire, or there was an accident, or something occurred and the car is no longer in existence. Now this is beyond the control of both parties, thereby causing a frustration. Both parties were not involved in what conspired to the destruction of the subject matter, so it's beyond the control. So that can lead to frustration. That was just like a very minimal scenario I gave. There are other cases that can back that definition, and I will not be doing cases and all here. No, that one is for cramming. This is what I read and what I understood. I didn't cram yet, so yeah. Then the last one is I think it has to do with relishment of government relishment in the case, or let's say interference of government or authority, appropriate authority or authority in a contract, interference of authority in a contract. I've not read nitty-gritty on that part, but I think it has to do with government interference. So if government, that's a third party, have to interfere in a contract, it will be for the purpose of preventing one from performing its duty, and when you prevent one from performing its duty, you'll be unable to bring the contract to an end, which is leading to a discharge. So with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince myself that what I read, even though it's the teeny tiniest part of it, but what I read, I understood small, and I can do better. Peace out.